Encounter Talks with Dawn at Gessner Ministries, a forum for discussing challenging topics, dissecting truth, discovering hope and light in a world that desperately needs revival.
Wes.
Hello.
Forever, but we've been 2 weeks without doing the podcast.
Right.
You've had to make a move. You were moving into a different home, and so there was probably a lot of stress involved with all of that. But nevertheless,
maybe a little.
You've gotten it all cared for and back to normal?
No, but we're taking it one day at a time.
Yeah. So I was listening to the podcast this week. I loved the fact that you spoke about, for me, it was caring. If I were to just take one word,
right,
and use that for the theme. And I've been thinking, how can I really care well? After I listened to that. And I had this thought about that as well. It seems like sometimes we flip things upside down and we think that to make a difference, to really impact our world, it's going to require this amazing ministry that has a high profile throughout the world. And, that's the way to really make a difference. And I'm sure it makes a difference. But that's not for everybody.
Right.
And when I was listening to that, it just made me realize all of us can really care. And I just want to talk about some of the ways that we can care well, because it doesn't have to be all of the exploited things that we think about so often. So tell me about some of the ways that you were referencing even on the podcast on Wednesday.
Well, I think, I don't know if this is the first one or not. I think the first one was perhaps comfort and being kind. Doesn't cost anything to be kind. I think the Bible teaches it, stretches it out a little further and suggests that you be kind to your enemies. So it's one thing to be kind to people who are kind back, but it's another thing to be kind to people who are not. And that has really serious ramifications that probably we don't need to get into today, but most of us give ourselves a little permission. I'll speak for myself. There are times when I give myself a little permission. If somebody's acting foolish on the road, a little bit of road rage, a little bit of, I didn't get out of the way fast enough. There's something inside of me at times. I don't want to fight. I don't want to escalate it, but I want to have my say. I want to, a guy did it the other day. I was getting into a turn lane and he came flying up and got into the turn lane way before there was a turn lane. And I could just tell he was thought it was really funny. So I didn't look at him. I didn't do any gestures. I didn't do, but I got on his tail a little bit. And it wasn't a kind thing. And I just think it's easy, and I'm being vulnerable here, and I'm sure you've never done that, but there are people that we do things. We do things because we feel like somebody else's unkind gesture allows us to respond. We're not beating them up. We're not destroying anything, but we just want that little piece. And yet that's not the Christ way. It's not the biblical way. And so I think that's one. I think the big one for me is paying attention to people.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I remember hearing you talk about that.
It's a huge thing. Most of us, again, we want to talk about ourselves. We want to talk about, or even do it in the context when somebody's telling a story, we're automatically thinking of how that relates to something that happened to us. And I've seen people do it, and I've probably done it. It's just like you cut somebody off right in the middle of their story so you can tell your story. I mean, it's a lack of self-awareness, but those are the kind of things that fall under caring for other people, being interested. being deliberate and ready to receive what somebody else is talking about or sharing or offering. Appreciation, showing appreciation. I still think getting a thank you card is a great thing, or giving a thank you card is a great thing. There's a thousand ways if you're intentional about doing it.
Yeah, and I think the key there is intentional, because when I'm just listening to you describe those things that you can do to be intentional about caring, it doesn't require a lot, does it? I
It
mean,
does, and I'm finding the older I get, the more uh, things come to my mind to do. So I saw a young mother at church the other day, someone that you know, that we used to be pastors in the church where they went at the time, and now I'm at a church where she's attending, and I think I actually did their wedding 10 or 12 years ago, whatever. And it was the end of the service. I was standing in the back, and this is not typically me, but I just stopped her. She walked by with two of her kids and said, "I think you're a great mother, and I think you're doing an awesome job." I mean, that I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. I'm saying things like that are
yeah,
coming to me more now than what they've ever done in the past.
yeah,
And it wasn't a long conversation. She's like, "Oh, that means so much," and she went on her way.
yeah, yeah.
So little things like that, and there's a lot better ones than that I know other people do, but that's just one that comes to my mind.
Yeah, and it just makes me realize how often we get this all twisted, because we think to really impact somebody is going to require something much larger than what we're discussing right now. Um, it is so true. Just a kind word or a phone call to say to somebody, I care about you, and I just want to know that everything is okay.
Yeah.
Um, well, man, it's so profound to me that something so simple can be so important and so impactful, and how it can make a difference in how we respond through life. I mean, if we would just have that constant awareness and take advantage of every opportunity, we probably could impact far more people than if we were trying to orchestrate this big, perhaps a ministry that we
Right.
think we're going to just make such a huge difference in. And I'm not trying to minimize ministry by any means, but we fail to think of this kind of thing as ministry when it really is.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I mean, let's just we don't have to go long here today, but let's challenge people. They could even add some anecdotal stories if they want in the comments below, or certainly do that. But I just think be intentional, be aware of the people around you today, or whenever you're watching this. Try to find opportunities to encourage somebody. I don't think it's long conversations. I don't think it's, again, usually if we have long conversations, it's because we're talking about ourselves.
yeah,
So make it about the person, and I think even as parents or grandparents, it's a huge thing to be aware of with our kids,
yeah,
whether they're adults and I know you're very intentional about that with Eric, but I think it's very, very important to find things to celebrate and to remember, or to notice, even to notice. I know I've got a 17-year-old here that lives with us, and the other day I came home and she had gotten home before me. It was dark, and I thought, I'm sure she just pulled her car up, and I'm going to have to pull up and then back in front of the house. And lo and behold, she pulled all the way up, and I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to tell her that was great.
yeah,
and thoughtful.
yeah,
So it's little things.
yeah, yeah, and obviously, to do those things, I think the bigger thing that we're communicating here is we're really reflecting who Christ is.
Sure.
He cares for us. And he cares for us so many times it's in those little things that we step back and recognize that he was there caring about us the whole time. And we were so busy we didn't even recognize those
Right.
type of things that he was doing to care for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll keep it short today. I know you have a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, it's just nonstop. Crazy.
But you're now in your new home.
We are. We actually have some furniture even, but
Well, that's awesome. And you've now downsized a little bit. Is that right?
we have indeed.
A little bit, or maybe more than a little bit.
It doesn't feel stress. That part doesn't feel stressful. It's actually when you start getting rid of stuff, it actually feels good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I still managed to bring some stuff here. I found a tote out in the garage because we don't have the storage we used to have, and Fran asked me, "What is that?" And I said, "It's my hunting clothes for deer hunting."
yeah.
And then she said, "When did you last do that?" I said, "Well, 10 years ago, maybe, yeah, about 10 years ago." So
Yeah.
those went in the trash, and that
Wow.
was my decision. But I'm like, why am I still saving?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Wes, two things I wanted to share just before we get off of here. One, I want to reflect for a moment on your devotional book that you have uh, written and is now available, and a number of people have already purchased it. I sent a copy to my father-in-law
Oh,
for his birthday,
nice, thank you.
and he has said to Cheryl how much it has meant to him, and he has just absolutely kept it there close by and
Nice.
has been really going through it and expressed the inspiration that it has been. So
Thank you.
first, I just want you to realize how impactful just the simple act. Well, I think it probably wasn't simple. It was probably heavy at times trying to get everything compiled. But even that book is making a difference in the lives of people.
That's
So,
nice. I have a lot of respect for him as well, so it's nice hearing that for him.
yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to share is when I think about the theme today for caring, one of the things that impacted me probably more than most everything else while I was on staff with you for 6 years was that you were very intentional about making sure that you cared about others. And you expressed that in a lot of different ways. And so for you to talk about that, it felt like it was real because I know the person talking about it has exercised that very thing. So
Well, thanks, Don. I've fallen short of that in a lot of ways, but I was intentional to a point, but I
yeah,
still think there's so much more. Just not the professional, not the church side of it. Those things are really important, but just from a personal standpoint.
yeah, and I think most of the time, while sometimes it was from the church professional side, it was a personal part of you, and it was a part that stood out. So thanks for reminding us
No, you're welcome.
about the simple things that we can do in life and probably have more impact than some of the things we think we can do to make an impact. So so great. Thank you so much and have a good day.
You're welcome. Talk to you soon.
All right, bye.
Thanks for watching. Take a moment to share with your friends.